calling my name. My God is so much bigger than the troubles I face. Why would I hunger or power or riches or fame? 'Cause my God is so much better than all of these things. So I won't be shaken, I won't be moved. My God is faithful, His promise is true. So I speak to the mountain, oh, it's time to move. 'Cause my God is bigger, better, stronger, greater than you.
My enemies scattered, 'cause they know the battle is done.
My God is stronger, the victory's already won. Yes, He died for my ransom, rose up on the third day. 'Cause my God is greater than that, hell and the grave. So I won't be shaken, I won't be moved. My God is faithful, His promise is true. So I speak to the mountain, oh, it's time to move. 'Cause my God is bigger, better, stronger, greater than you. There's no mountain too high, no valley too low. There's no fear that I have He doesn't already know. There's no problem too big, there's no weapon too strong. There is nothing for God that's impossible. There's no mountain too high, no valley too low. There's no fear that I have He doesn't already know. There's no problem too big, there's no weapon too strong. There is nothing for God that's impossible. So I won't be shaken, I won't be moved. My God is faithful, His promise is true. So I speak to the mountain, oh, it's time to move. 'Cause my God is bigger, better, stronger, greater. Bigger, better, stronger, greater. Bigger, better, stronger, greater. Bigger, better, stronger, greater than you.
Good evening, Bula Vinaka,
Bula
Bula
Vinaka.
Maleka,
Bula.
hello.
Bula everybody.
Greetings to you all this wonderful evening. How are you all? We hope that you are all well. I know for us here in Fiji, the weather hasn't been on our good side. Well, for most of us, a lot of cold and flu virus, and then we also have the coronavirus. But to still be alive, breathing, and sitting with family is such a joy and a blessing. Well, we welcome you back to our family program, From Our Family to Yours, where we hope you will be encouraged and blessed through the stories shared and lessons learned in our family's journey. We welcome each and every one of you and your families from around Fiji, wherever you're tuning in from, and also big Bula welcome, Bula Vinaka to you, our global family, joining us as well from different parts of the world. Bula Vinaka again, and we hope that you are doing well this wonderful Friday evening. We would also like to welcome our brothers and sisters again of other faiths that are also tuning in tonight.
Everybody.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and we welcome you and your families, and we hope that you will be blessed with this program. Bangin ko kita sa pambultal tikayani ni mbula vinaka ni mata vinaka mai na biwa kani ni sematal tikmai na bangin ko kita sa kinda wakemni kena nomni matu bale neta le ni nonda turanga o chisu Kristo. Say bembeka na vi say viti kena vi say burburo ni sematik mai kina na bangin vinaka ni ko kita sa kinda wakemni todoko ka kita nita kanyo ni mbula vinaka tos vinaka tinanggara vitavi nito master nga ni kemni na marotaka na programo na kami binakanikua. If you're tuning in for the first time, we also welcome you. Thank you so much to all of you for tuning in, and for all of you that have been following us from the beginning. Thank you for sticking by us through this journey. We appreciate each and every one of you. I would like to say this again. We are not a perfect family. Far from it. Everyone you sing sitting around this couch have battles and struggles of their own. We have struggles, battles as a family, and we also have our flaws and weaknesses. We have made mistakes that have hurt and offended other people, and if you have been hurt, offended by us, we sincerely apologize. Just like all of you who are watching, this family has had their days where, I will be honest, we don't even want to see each other, or sometimes we don't even want to talk to one another. For me personally, there have been days where I don't want to be sitting here and do the show because of situations I'd probably be in. And I sometimes feel like I don't have the courage to do so. But God gives us the strength each and every day to get up and do what He has called us to do, all for His glory. So if you're watching tonight and probably going through something by yourself or as a family, and it feels like you can't go on, or your mistakes and weaknesses are haunting you, please know that God loves you despite all that, and He still has your best interest at heart. You are not a mistake. And you watching tonight is not a coincidence. We hope that tonight you will be blessed with everything that will be brought to you. We acknowledge once again our partners and sponsors for this wonderful program: Acceleration Beyond Limits, ABL Designs, Elevation Events, and of course Profile Productions. Thank you all so much to these companies for your love and support towards this program. Tonight is a Q&A, and we have questions from the past 4 episodes and also some from the first 4 episodes. There is a lot of questions. So I just want to say this from the outset. We don't have all the answers, and we might not know all the answers, but we will answer them according to our family's experience and the wisdom that God has blessed us with. We also might not be able to answer all the questions today, so we apologize in advance. Well, let's get straight into it.
Get rolling.
Anyway, question number 1. I have to read this out and then read the question following. My husband is away serving in another country, and we live with my family, and my daughter is the favorite in the family. Sometimes I struggle trying to teach her the do's and the don'ts when especially my parents are around, and sometimes when I say no, my parents always say, "Sechi, labi ko nga," or when I'm bumbukini her, when she says a bad word, my parents usually say, "Dona, wasadawa lang ay mokukinaya." I know she is not yet 3 and she doesn't understand the word that fell out of her mouth. Of course, sometimes I forget that she is still a baby with my level of expectation with a class 1 even can't meet. And also because I have neighbor with children the same age as her, and I expect my daughter to be better than them, and I think that this is also a contributing factor that pushes parents on setting high expectation on their children when they just want to be themselves? Question is, do you think that she is doing the right thing after the daughter utters a bad mouth, or is it too early rather for her to smack her? Ngoy sambili mandangana namu esembulanga. And how can I discipline her at this early age? The question that follows that, can you talk more about setting expectation on your children, especially when she's just 3? And can I set an expectation now, or is it too early for that? Yeah, so the first question, let me say that again, repeat it. Do you think that I am doing the right thing, meaning disciplining her? Bumbukini, she's saying bumbukini her, so these small pinches every now and then. Do you think that she's doing the right thing after the daughter utters a bad mouth, or is it too early?
Well. There you see the role of the parents and the role of the grandparents.
I guess it's also a hard thing for grandparents.
Oh yeah, and sometimes there's a huge clash because, grandparents often have this attitude, we'll mess them up and the parents will fix them up.
Yes.
Right? Sometimes you just cannot help it as a grandparent to spoil your grandchildren. Now, having said that, it's not always right to do so, because you have to instill discipline as well. Now, at 3 years old, I believe that girl is still 3 years old. She's still at the age of innocence, I suppose. And, in the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6, it says, train up a child in the way he or she should go. And when they grow up, they shall not depart from it. We have to understand as parents, and research has shown and confirmed this, that children at this age, they learn more by imitation. They learn more by imitation. So if a child at 3 years of age is saying a swear word, say for instance, and you have to discipline that child for that matter, you have to ask the question, where did she learn? Or he learned that. Where did she hear that? Where did she learn it? She or he must have learned it, heard it from somebody in the house. So, by saying that swear word, that child is completely innocent. That child is just, it's like a tape recorder, Before we used to have what you call tape recorder with cassettes and things like that, right? Somebody's speaking and you record it. That child records everything, right? You say a good word, garbage in, garbage out. Exactly. And the child is innocent. And now you want to smack the child for a problem that is not entirely the child's fault. Right? It's the fault of the older ones, the parents, or the aunts and the uncles, or the grandparents. So it is important, therefore, for parents to be their role model for the children right at that age. Right? Because, as I said, it's kind of the age of innocence. Right? So sometimes we do smack them at 3 years old, and the child is wondering, why?
What did I do wrong? Yeah.
Why? The child is not old enough to understand that discipline. Now, I don't mean to say that we don't have the discipline. Sure we do. But at that age, maybe discipline, a smack, is too early, too premature.
Yeah, 3-year-old.
Because the child doesn't really understand why she has been smacked. Just because she said a word that she was completely innocent of. A swear word for that matter. Right? So it is important therefore for parents to make sure that the home environment, the atmosphere at home, is an atmosphere conducive for parenting, for growing a child. Just as, coming from a teaching background, one of the things we teachers have always been taught is how you can make your classroom an atmosphere which is conducive for learning. Right? A teaching and learning process. So I think that same principle applies at home as well. And as I speak, I know there are some parents who are young parents, who just got married young, and they're having small children right now at the age of 1, 2, and 3, right? So these are the ages where you have to be very careful, because whatever you say, they will say. Whatever you do, they will imitate back to you, right? And sometimes they say a swear word, and you smack them, and the child will probably interpret it wrongly. Why? Right? You are kind of building up in that child an attitude of hatred towards you as a father, because the child doesn't understand why.
But then, let's try and see it from the grandparents' perspective. Okay, so we have a baby at home, baby George. He's like our cousin, and in a way, like a grandchild is at home. I tell you, this kid is spoiled by the grandparents, and he's only 10 months old. So maybe, Dad, you can share, how do you feel when you hear him cry?
I don't like to hear him cry. I mean, and that is the case for all grandparents. They really don't want, it's not so much when they're your parents. But, like when you are parents, you expect your children to cry, because that's their main form of communication. They cry when their nappies are wet, they cry when they're hungry, they cry when they want to sleep. I mean, the only language of communication is the cry. But I guess when you become a grandparent, that's a different stage altogether. And we're kind of experiencing that with baby George at home. And for me, when I'm lying down in my room and I hear him early in the morning, but when I'm hearing him like laughing or yelling, shouting, enjoying, I can't even sleep there. I have to come out and just enjoy that time. But when I hear him cry, no, I hate that. Right? I hate that.
When George cries, and if we hear the dad and mom's room door opening, we know we're probably going to get in trouble. Because as soon as he comes in, what's wrong? Why is he crying? So, I mean, like for grandparents, it's a different thing, yeah? And we can see it. Like I can see it.
It's the joy of fruitfulness. It's a joy of fruitfulness, because, your children are bearing fruits. They are bearing fruits. They are producing children. And that is fulfilling the mandate of fruitfulness, as God said. So going back to that question about discipline. And now discipline is necessary, right? We have to understand the necessity of discipline. Now the necessity of discipline is to stop the destruction of the child, right? Because if you do not discipline a child when the child needs to be disciplined and is old enough to understand what discipline is. Now, you'll recall that we've talked about this when you were growing up, and, I think this was you and Junior and Moji. Pedi, I don't think Pedi has ever received a cane from me or rod from the moment she was born until now. Not because she was the spoiled one in the family, no, because it was just her character was different from everybody else. Now, for you, Junior, and Moji, I remember I've instilled discipline, sometimes maybe too excessive, and I admit that. Now, I would sit you down and explain why. And I often ask the question, parents, I think this is important. It is important that when you discipline your children, first, you have to understand the necessity of discipline is to deter any destruction to the child. Because if you take love too far, to the extreme, you love your children so much to the point that you don't discipline them, that love can become an error. One of the principles that I usually teach, and I got it from Dr. Edwin Lewis Cole, any truth taken to the extreme becomes an error, right? So discipline must come in all the time. And the means of discipline are usually the actions and words. It's the words we say and our actions as well. Right? So discipline is important, and of course we have to understand the motive of discipline to express love. We need to discipline our children with love, not with hatred. Because any parent that disciplines the children with hatred, you are bound to inflict bodily harm somehow. Right? And I know I'm guilty of that. I've learned a hard lesson from that. Even when I was a teacher. Well, today we can't even talk about this. We can't talk about the rod now in the classroom, right? It's illegal.
Well, can I ask my siblings though? Like, what do you think, with discipline? Okay, excluding her, the rest of us, like the discipline, that we get from mom and
Junior.
dad. Yeah, Philly Junior, like now we hardly see that, like if a teacher does something to the student has the right to take that teacher to court. But what do you guys think about discipline for us? I mean, especially for children at this age, at this generation, the now. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I guess from my own experiences with what Dad has explained earlier, when we grew up, when we did some wrong things, eventually we'll get it from him.
And Junior, by the way, when he was growing up, he used to say swear words.
Whoa,
And these were swear words. Swear words he didn't hear from home.
Yeah, from
Swear
the
words
neighbors.
he heard from his friends,
And he had a lot of Indian friends.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was very good like
Yeah.
that.
Yes, so when I usually do those silly stuff, I always get it from Dad. And yeah, I remember when we were back in Lodala, there was the wrestling match that was going on. And I had wanted to watch the wrestling match on a Saturday evening. And then Dad was watching the Christian channel, TBN, about a missionary. I still remember this very clearly. And I couldn't tell Dad changed the channel. So I went to Mom, kavita visita channel. So when I went to Mom and Mom was telling that, wrestling, and then Dad got frustrated with me, and then we went to the room. I got a beating of my life. But looking back now, I would say I'm grateful for those lessons, those discipline that I went through, because not only did that teach me, but it also not on the lessons that I've learned, but it also taught me of what was right and what was wrong. So what is what you need to do so that you'll be able to to be better than yourself. It was great for me. I'm grateful for that. I think the Bible says it clearly: spare the rod, spoil the child. So for me, I guess if I hadn't gone through that experiences, I would probably have been different. Maybe more rebellious. So those disciplinary actions, I would say, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that, because it has taught me lessons and what to do, what right things to do, and what to leave behind.
Yeah.
It goes back to the motive of discipline, which is to express love. A parent who loves his or her children so much will instill discipline. That is a must, right? And the goal of that is, of course, to instill obedience, so that there will be no rebelliousness in the life of the child. And the ultimate result of discipline is what I'll put this way: short-term pain for long-term gain. Right? That has to be the ultimate result of discipline. That child, you might inflict a little bit of pain in terms of the rod, right? Or whatever, the words you say. But that short-term pain will produce long-term gain for the life of the child. Yeah. So it's important to understand that.
I also want to say and challenge children that are watching, young people, teens. If you're still getting disciplined, then take it. I guess times have changed, but discipline is biblical. Times have changed, but the word of God will never change. And lebnongo na kenda mokunga mongo se vostenga mongo sa alkokoa. Vostenga mongo sa venro. Sa leka na numurai o sa wadundu bos mango bibele mango ke bakai ko vostegi chico nango ke bakai se moku chico dingo mo chico, because that's from a place of love.
And the other thing too is very important, that say when mom is disciplining the child, that dad has to be with mom. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The child must understand that mom and dad are both together in that discipline. Right? Kuni sa discipline to mom and dad is on the side of the child.
Can we hear what mom wants to say?
Yeah.
Because
Sometimes she's to be guilty of
yeah.
that.
Weekend na itumbutumbo hindi na todo ko ya libu na ngauna ni rabi na katatongan do naka rla ko beita ir na ngone sa sinra beita
That's
ir
that one.
kilatu nga ona na sulia ko ya na bunoya enda mendat beita no babi na kina baleta na bin rakini bulba ya rando mai idaka ba weekend or na lube
Okay lah, nindo na kalengan daw yata maya. Simber instill na discipline. Mom and dad has to talk first.
Yeah.
Before like overreacting. Instead of reacting, you respond to what the mistake, the child has done. So that in that way, you two on the same page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it is important for the parents to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Where either they're instilling discipline or any decisions that is made regarding the family. We have to understand too as parents that children are smart. They are very good manipulators. Yeah, very good manipulators. Now I know that these three especially, right, they would use grace. When I say no, because they want to go somewhere, and I say no, right, they will use grace. And Grace will come to me with, biting her finger like that and say, Dad, and then, I mean,
How can you say
when
no?
she's talking like that, it melts your heart.
That
Although
was
you've
back
said
then.
no.
That was back then. Not now.
Yeah, it was then, and Grace knows that. I think she was old enough to understand that these two big ones would use her to come and try and manipulate me. But for me, they know when I say no, that's a no. When I say yes, that's a yes. So I try to stick to that. But sometimes, oh boy, when she comes, I've already said no, and when she comes, and I
yes.
knew who was sending her. I knew exactly who was sending her, right? And again, children are very smart in that, and parents, I know when I'm talking now, you already know what I'm talking about, right? They know the weaker part of us, the weaker side of us, who they would use, right? To melt your heart so that you can say yes when you've already said no, right? But again, sometimes those things happen. But I think it is always important to understand as parents, terms of parenting as well, the importance of agreement. Whether it's agreement in a decision that is made or agreement in instilling discipline, that the children must understand when discipline is given that we are together in that.
But
and we do so for the good of the child.
I have a question. What if it goes to an extent where, especially the young people in our age, they still don't accept the discipline that we give them, that not even actions or words, that are not enough to discipline them. Sometimes they
continue.
they just continue. How do we
That's a tough one because that's where rebelliousness has already come in. All right, and layers of rebelliousness is already kind of accumulating, right? And when these layers of rebelliousness, because they've not been addressed from an earlier age, you see, it's easy to bend a plant when it's young, right? When it grows older, it's hard. So it's easy to mold the life of a child when the child is still young. And because this is where love is taken too far to the extreme, right? The child is spoiled, right? And necessary discipline is not dished out at the right time. So what happens, this child grows up with layers and layers of rebelliousness. To the point when he or she becomes a high teen, it's too late. It's too late, almost. The child will never accept the discipline. Because to the child, no, it doesn't happen this way. That's wrong. That's wrong. Because those layers of rebelliousness have built up, accumulated throughout the years. Right? Let me say it in Fijian. That's true. Right? A child who is spoiled at home will grow up to be the most rebellious child.
But then how or when do we stop using the rod? When do you stop discipline, that kind of discipline?
Well, yeah. Biblically speaking, spare the rod, you spoil the child. Now we have to be careful talking about the rod now, again, in the times we live. But I hope you understand where we are coming from, right? I know it is illegal to use the rod now in our context. But again, sometimes some people feel that it is better to have the rod than the words.
Yeah.
Right? I've heard, when I was a high school teacher, I remember sometimes students would come and they would say, Master, give me the rod. I'd rather have the rod than to be given a good scolding. Because sometimes words can last for a long, long time, especially words that are not uttered in the right manner with the right heart attitude. Right? It can have a lasting impact on the life of a child. Now, when do you stop discipline? When do you stop instilling the rod? Right? Now, you cannot put a particular age group because it's a case-by-case basis. Right? People are different. You cannot treat people the same. They're different. But a time is coming as well when children are growing and they're beginning to demand their space and their time. And I think it is important for parents to honor that as well, to respect our children's space, right? When they're beginning to declare their kind of independence. How do you know they're beginning to be independent? All the time when we go, they will cry, I'm coming, Mom, I'm coming, Dad, I'm coming, and they will cry. And then a time comes when you say, let's go, and they said, no, I'm staying. All children like that. And when they say, I'm staying, they're beginning to declare their what? Their independence. Why? Because they have got other groups that they're attaching themselves to. So that's when we need to respect the space, but give them the right guidance, right? The right advice on how to handle that.
All right. Thank you. Next question is.
I think Junior has a question from last.
Oh, yeah.
I think one of the questions that came up in the previous Q&A episode was in the context of elopement. Elopement, is that right?
Elopement.
Benrotaki.
Yeah,
Benrotaki.
that's in the Itoki language, Benrotaki. So, is it right to do that, or is it wrong? Probably before or after marriage.
Can I ask Egi to what do you think? From a girl's perspective, and then Philly maybe can talk from the man's perspective.
Na sa nivin rotaki, viau mangurai, klani malakau sa bulida, makau sa bulida mekina, al pambimbing na kosa ni kalona. Viau nangurai na vin rotaki sa siang ako nganing namun. Balata Nasa naibal balada. Naibal balada. Baleta na kevka dona was ndo tuntiko. Nina teki nga ba dan dona matubale na sini tini ba binaka sina siang ni na binaka na kene da ko ba na tintal nga ba da. Na binaka da nga na muranga na ngoni tal ndon. Wara ka nga mo nangi kau nga wan dun nga no matubale ndo ti.
Eu vou mandar na tikine aba biti mandanga biki andana nonda. Esini to aba biti na benrotaki. Esini ndona ito. I just have to be very blunt in that. Esini ndona ito aba ito ke mon rotak mendona dorbo melen rotak ndona ngoneleo. Right? Elopement. I don't think it's anybody's culture. I don't know whether it's a culture in a Tauke context, it's not a culture, or in the Indian context. I don't think it's even a culture. But why do people do it? That's a question. Can't they wait? Can't they just wait?
Well, I think a lot of young people do it because one instant is because they're in love, but parents from one side doesn't agree.
Okay.
So, but they feel like, no, we want to be together, but because the families feel otherwise, they do that. So how then can we?
Well, we have our own, like the Itoke culture, we have our own protocol of marriage, right? A boy and a girl are beginning to have a relationship. The first thing they need to know, of course, is to let their parents know about it, right? So that they can give their blessings over that relationship. So that anytime the two are seen together, the understanding is there. They're already having a relationship. And it's okay for a man or a young man and a young woman to be seen together when they're having a relationship. They should spend time together. Now, for some of us, sometimes We just look at a boy and a girl just talking to each other and the mind is going haywire. You know what I mean? Right? And we have to understand this is normal in life. They have to. Now, so when they are having a relationship, first thing they need to do is to tell their parents about it. Right? Tell mom and dad. And the mom and dad will give a blessing. Now, the way I'll do it, of course, I will go. As I used to say. Right? The boy, I believe the boy should go and face the parents of the girl. And just to announce that he is having a relationship with their daughter. Right? And I think that is such honor and respect for the parents of the girl and for the girl. When a boy is able to do that. And then after that, of course, then we have the culture of Dungudi, right? Where we take the whale's tooth and formally ask for the parents' permission.
But Dad, what if the guy does all that, but the girl's parents don't like it?
That's a different story altogether. And that's a different story. And probably that's why elopement takes place. But I still don't believe that elopement is the answer to this. Right? Because it can be done in a proper way again. Right? And I know there might be some differences in the way we see this. I mean, I won't expect anybody to come and elope my daughters. Right?
I wouldn't
Elizabeth,
want to do it.
how would you feel?
Yeah, like what Iggy said, I think it's only best that how you start a relationship would, and how it would affect your family in the end. For me, if there are girls out there who are thinking of eloping, like, I think the first thing that would pop up in my head was like, how would it affect your family? Like the decisions that you make, like how would it affect, what picture are you painting for you and your family? But, and yeah, like, it goes back to developing, starting a relationship the right way, and then, you know, how it goes in the long term, long run.
What about the boys? What do you think about this, Philly? What do you think about this whole idea of eloping? And why is it that people still do it?
As you have said, that eloping is a no-no in the Fijian culture. Siangani First of all, you are taking the girl to your house, even in the extent...
You're stealing, eh?
You're stealing. And that girl has a parents and has a brother and a family, and treated like a princess. Wakatu mendo tu na maramale na nolomani uwal. Gawla ko eno iko, mongailay, buto ko di ko mai, when na parents who look after her so well, and you have to bring her into your house, even sometimes to your house, no abu wala mandanga chukina, re-racing nimbula binaka tu, sianga tu ni ngarabi binaka, ocha mga kotel mai total la burden, with no more parents, merto may omong atali na bingarab talo mo ni ubal. So it's isang serangan nindo na kena minaka na binrota.
It's not godly.
It's not godly.
But it's not godly. But I'm glad that we talk about this. But unfortunately, it has become a norm.
Exactly.
So baka meron doli pati taka serangan.
Iyo. Galita ka tayo kina pa hampong iba. O hampong iba taka chuin do na ipalapalata. You are celebrating a sin. Right? It is not right. So it is very important for both girls and boys to understand this. Not you know, ko ni rosa vindo mo ni ko nga na vindo mo ni rosa nung sa andaro bin rotaki. Come on, wait. And then you have to look at the long-term effect of this. Right? Well, what comes after elopement? What comes after vin rotaki? It's a culture of mbulumbulu. Huh? A culture of mbulumbulu. And what is the culture of mbulumbulu? Mbulumbulu simply means that this is what the relatives, the whole matangali or relatives of the boy, taking drums of kerosene and everything, go ask for forgiveness from the girl's side for the wrong they did. Mbulumbulu is an admission of guilt. Huh? That's why we do the mbulumbulu.
Yo, and I want to say to young women, kaya kan doon tangane sabi ang rote kikchuko kasi lomaniko.
No.
He doesn't respect you, neither does he respect your parents and your family. Okay, so you have to think about everything that you're gonna put not only your family but your extended family through.
Yes.
Because that niletak ngono menang bulu erna no we kamu todo karena mesanga na like all this. So elopement is not the answer.
And the other sad part of this, and people might not want to say this, but I'll say it. This has become accepted in some of our places because the parents of the girl, they know that through Mbulumbulu they will get the yaw. Huh? Unfortunately, yes. Sapa ka taratu, sapa ka arding ko matura na tumbu-tumbu kanta na itumbu-tumbu na lupen ta ngonela. Bitaling gen rota lupen ko ngonela, baleta nang galila ko menang bulu-bulu. Au na may baka yaw kino yaw. So sad. So sad. It's like this. It's like you are looking at your daughter like a bag of sugar. The bag of sugar.
I ain't no bag of sugar.
Bag of sugar, sack
No
of
way.
sugar. A 50 kg bag. So this 50 kg bag now is being stolen from you through the elopement. Saling unubi. Salako sale banga take na suka. They used the sugar, the 50 kg of sugar. It's been used. Now sugar is over. They have to come and repay the sugar because it was stolen sugar. So now they will come back with more bags of sugar.
Yeah.
The mbulumbulu. You see? Elopement is not godly.
No.
Ninda sambeng garabana kalo, when we come to serve God, and I appeal to all of us, there are protocols we need to observe in the process of marriage. Erokobi kina na matabu bale no ngonele, erokobi talanga kina iko na duru. Right? Erokobi sa talanga kina bagale no buli duru no bubale lo miki.
Well, that was an interesting discussion. Question number 3. This is a good one. Children in the Itauke family, or rather culture, are expected to care for their elderly parents. This person's opinion is, I am in favor of this. However, I have often questioned if there's a verse or directive in the Bible that supports our culture.
Exodus 20:12. The 4th commandment, I guess, I think, in the 10 commandments. Honor your parents, your father and mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord has given you. I think the greatest demonstration of honor and respect that a child can give the parents is to do something for their parents at their point of need. Right? That's the greatest honor you can give. Honor your parents. Now, I know for us, for example, for us, we had our mothers stay with us until they both passed away. Right? And we saw that as our responsibility. Right? We saw that as our responsibility to do that. Why? They're growing old. Now they're coming to a point where they need support, where they need to be taken care of, they need to be fed, right? And right? Now I know when I talk about that, for other cultures like the European culture, it's different, right? They take their moms and dads to, what do you call that?
Homes.
Homes, or their moms and dads have enough money. They've already accumulated enough money throughout the years of their work so that they can pay for, what do you call that, caretakers, right, who look after them. Right? And a lot of our Fijian people work now in the US are doing this. Caregivers.
Caregivers.
They're caregivers. Why? Because they have what? They have money. The system, the economic system allows for that. In Fiji, unfortunately, most of our parents who grow up in the village, they don't have that. They don't have the luxury or the privilege of money where they can pay for caregivers to look after them at their old age. So what do we do then? Should we just leave them? No, I think it is my moral responsibility. Right? It is for me, that will be the greatest joy and the greatest honor that I show my parents that at a time when they need support, They need to be taken care of. I'm there to stand in the gap, to look after them. So I thought I will just say that. Even Jesus on the cross, when he was hanging on the cross, he looked at his mother and the disciple standing there, and he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." And then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." Why did Jesus say that? Because in Jewish culture, now Jesus is going to the cross, he's going to die. Because he has to be responsible for his mother. So
okay. Yes.
So because he's dying. Now he looks to John and he said, "Raidana tinam." In other words, he was giving the responsibility which was his. He knew this is my responsibility as a Jewish guy in the home. But now I'm dying. I'm going to be dead. I'll have to give it over to somebody. He gave it over to John. Please look after my mom. Because that was his obligation. That was his responsibility. So for me, I think the greatest... I'm feeling a little bit emotional here. The greatest honor and respect that children can show their parents is to look after them and take care of them at their greatest hour of need, especially when they've grown old. Now, I know sometimes by doing that, it can be an added burden to us. Yes, I understand that. It can be an added burden because we have our own family to look after as well. But I think we still have a responsibility to do that. Yes.
What do you think, Na?
Yo bambu taya nonde itabi bikira unon roti kana mbuni ngone kati ko talanga nuguta utia mai kawina koroko ena ngona sa mai te matembimbikina uti sa mai lengo koya sa kaulis mai subanuguna uti ro sa mai tigururu ibale mai laudala ke ro ngara biro ya do sarnon ro mai lenga kila indona itabi lebu ya weekend na sembula tiko nondo itumbu-tumbu be kawe ko be kemro babe utini nomro kalonga tangkorin in rongara birau kalonga tamandangani rarai tona makumbulra rarai dirtona non rombu ini rasembula leka lenga non tobe non ra vengara beira o tinda sana bimbiu ando na kando mo siti au no lago bolita ni suba dori tu solo mara go bakaro biu tini wale tinga kirola ko suba ron tambi tu na baranda ai tumbai MHC muri Robio tini gasero kai viti. Uredira okela baka robio tini rongo. Weekenda sembula tiko nonde tumbu-tumbu. Dona kavala loma menda kau tira lembi tira tan tuaya. Kera lembi una home mendona wanua merangkara wikina. Meraka oita kitiko irango andona ngauna ravisus maikina weekenda. Tamaya to bandona banua rambo ngandre tu meraka hoitaki ko kilatu non dei tabi kenda mendangara vira ndanan enanduin tu ina rai weekenda e bungara seng rawat tambaletani rayo tinar tu ngone seng ni bimalwe binaka binona nei donesa na menesa rurobaya nunggu mas weekend tamandangan tikungo weekend na barong tiko mai mendalo manira renang gase tikungo rilo manibale rangan reba talanga merabukei bala tersaya to abandona ngauna rangan reba merambo bukei nanonra bakanimbeka wasilimi bunga talaka rani rabukei kina ena singli buniko.
Naka, I'll just say from a grandchild's perspective, I loved and I enjoyed having to have my grandparents live with us We Takir, both my maternal and paternal grandparents. My other and my maternal Bumbu, they both stayed with us, and my maternal grandfather. And I loved it because I would hear stories from, the olden days, how they did things differently from us.
Their love stories.
The best part
You should
was
tell that.
my maternal grandparents' love story. I would ask my Mbumbu to repeat. She would get, annoyed that I wanted to, because it was funny. The way she always talked about it, it was funny. So, I would do it all over again if I still had them around. And just to answer this, say also about this question, I would take care of my parents, even if they grow old. Like they've said, it's a responsibility, and so I will do it if I have to. And yeah, just encouraging everyone out there, they did so much, so it's only right that we do.
And I think one of the things people miss out on, especially looking after the old ones, is they have a treasure trove of wisdom,
Yes,
experience,
so much,
and knowledge that they have to pass on. And when you fail to do your part to look after them, you fail to dig from that reservoir, if you will, of wisdom and experience, right, that only they can give.
Right.
It's one of the things that as a young person you have the zeal, the passion to do something. But unless that zeal is combined with the wisdom of the old, then it can be misdirected. Right? You can have the passion as a young person. This is the benefit of having old people around us. Right? These are people who have gone through life, who have experienced the lows and the highs of life. Right? Like when Mbumbu used to talk about their love story.
I wish she was alive to talk about it here.
And those kind of things. But, they have this treasure trove of wisdom and knowledge and experiences that every young person can learn from. So if you have your grandparents staying with you, say for now, or your parents staying with you, learn as much as you can from them. Because there are things you can learn from the older generation that you can never read in a textbook. Right? You'll never be able to read in a textbook. It's only they that have this such things. Yes.
I would like to add a little bit of what Suze explained earlier, is that we have to celebrate life with them while I still live. Because most of the time when our grandparents gone, then you have to write all these notes down and say, some Bumbu, sama yali talk. No. So now is the time we have to sit her down, make a feast for her, give her a cake, and give her mats the money to spend while she still live.
That's right.
So celebrate life. If you are listening, celebrate life with your grandparents. We never know when she's gonna go back to be with the Lord. So this is the only time when they still live on earth with us. So that's what I'm trying to.
That's a good point. A good point, and one of the things that I've always been teaching. The best you can do for a person, do it when the person is alive. When the person dies and we hear all these kind of long speeches about the person, the achievements and everything, what's the point? The person is dead.
Can't hear it.
Can't hear it. Right? We bring the best mats, the best food. Who eats
What
it?
for?
We eat it. We bring all this food, we come and eat it. We bring all these mats, we come and share it again. I mean, think about that. But if you bring the mats and bring the food when they're alive, right? You set the mats up, they sit on the mat is there, they're still alive. Right? You bring this huge envelope of money, put it in the, give it to them, and kill the fattened cow or whatever, right? And celebrate life together. I think that's more important than having a funeral.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, think about that. Sandongan mate, sangat dapat sangat orang belum. Iya. Nah, kan bimbing nondongan nontawa marau takana, right? So yeah, you learn. There's a treasure trove, as I've said, a wealth of experience and knowledge and wisdom that they have, and at the same time, celebrate life. Celebrate life. Yeah.
Naka, I think Baby has a question.
So the question here is about marriage. Na waka mau waka matentu na rauni waka longo kalonga tataka talanga na kalo. And then nakilawa kadava, nakadi say naki ekadibi kendikin na kalo. Ki ekadibi kendikin na kalo.
Yeah.
Navava naranida kamendo wale laitaki se tarobikin na kaniwe waka wile na taliboni.
Well, there are
So that's like,
how
that's
many
from
questions
one
are there?
person.
Let's go one by one. What's the first question?
Another one, Atara? She sounds like she's struggling to read. Getting read, probably intonation, sister. What's the question?
Na wakama wakamati nito enara ni wakalonga tataka talanga na kalo.
Well, that's a tough question. Legal marriages, where you go and a lot of people are doing that. Now, I would certainly recommend to us, we can understand my lutu. Most of our pastors can do both, right? They are marriage officers as well. Legal marriage officers. I for one, I'm one of them. A lot of our pastors in our different churches are legal marriage officers. Right? And of course, for me to be able to officiate in a marriage, I will need, a special license, which the couple will have to go and apply from the register of marriage, and then you bring that, and of course, I'll fill in the certificate, and I can conduct both at the same time. So for those of us in the church, I will certainly recommend that we make the best use of our pastors who are already there in the church, who have the license, right, that is given by the government, by the state, for them to be to officiate in a marriage ceremony.
So, Dad, it's important because the question is, na civil wedding, and abakalonga takana kaloya sisanga.
Well. Sometimes people go for the civil weddings because they've already been living out of wedlock. You see, and it's just like the shortcut to making the marriage legal. Well, it makes the marriage legal. The marriage is legal under the law of the land if you do a civil marriage. But the other question is, who's conducting your marriage? So it is best that somebody that you know very well
blesses the
blesses your wedding.
Yeah.
Now again, it goes back to how you started the relationship. So whether God blesses it or not, it goes back to how the relationship began. It's not only about the civil marriage, whether it's legal, whether God blesses it or not. It goes back to how the relationship started in the first place. How did it start? Did it start off well? If not, then God is not blessing it already. Right now, I'm not saying that marriages like that don't last. There are a lot of marriages like that. And then there are those who never knew anything about God, and they've been married like that, or they've been living out of wedlock, and they came to the church, they come and then you have marriages that last. But for those of us, it's sad to see, those of us who've been in the church for so long,
and still haven't been...
Yeah, and still cannot learn, when we still have people within the church who can bless our marriages. Yes. And what's the second question?
And then nakilawa kalaba nakadi say naki ekadi wikendikina nakalo.
How do you know
your purpose?
How do you know your purpose? Well, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? Every human being on earth should be passionate about something. In other words, there is something that you're good at, right? Something that you love to do. What is it that you love to do? So you have to think about this. Ask yourself, what is it that I'm passionate about? That could be your very purpose in life. Right? Think about it. And if they tell me, no, I am not passionate about anything, oh boy.
Something is
You're
wrong.
probably living on a different planet altogether. Right? You check it out yourself. Like Kanisi, she's passionate about flower arrangement and things like that. Baking, that could be your passion. Cooking, fashion maybe, whatever your passion is. That's your purpose in life.
What's the other question, Tanya?
Nadava enaroni da kamendo vakalele taki se tarobikil nakani vivakawile iwale.
That's a good question. I think we should take that in one of our episodes. The family and social media. What can we do? You choose it, you choose not to. Simple. Choice.
Can I just say something? So we have a few other siblings that are here with us. There's more than 7 of us all together. So because when we started, so we have this journey that we do together, right? Every day. We have a roster, we have rules, and we have punishment if you don't follow the rules. And one of the rules is 10 p.m. is lights off. No Facebook, no social media, no nothing. If you're caught, the next day your punishment will be waiting for you. Sakilaki de chigorto, if they, wake up till after 10. Or one thing that I disallow them from is TikTok. I don't care how good TikTok is, I just don't like TikTok, period. Yes, you can use it to, for good reasons, but because I've noticed how it's taken up a lot of the youth's time nowadays. Dagi pas ngomong doon reba ngomong pas kan sal tomal tu sandanis tu na TikTok moves. Like their whole entire lives every day is TikTok,
TikTok, yeah.
So I'm not saying that TikTok is bad, but the how much you spend your time on it, to the point that it's become a lifestyle, Salah tu bango sa bos tu bandana bos na TikTok say. So that's why I disallow them to have that app. And so there's punishments, and I feel like it's a good topic to talk about as a family. For you parents, you have to be careful to know what your children are looking at on their phones, what they have access to, because you could renew you don't know what they're accessing, and especially with the age that we're in now. So I just thought I would say that.
Now, there are definitely a lot of distractions, no doubt about that are distracting people, especially the social media. And especially for us in the church, people say they have no time to pray. But they have time, all the time in the world for Facebook. I cannot understand that. Right? Facebook and social media has suddenly become one of the biggest distractions in the lives of Christians. And I know, especially the family, right? That everybody has their smartphone, they are just talking with their smartphone, they are laughing at the smartphone, and you don't know what they are laughing at. There is no social interaction like this. Family doesn't sit down together and talk and just enjoy a time together. Why? Because people are just talking, having a love relationship with the smartphone.
I think when it comes to families at home, parents should set the boundaries.
And especially when they are still at a young age.
Yes.
Now, the other thing too that I've noticed a lot with parents with young children, when the child cries, the child is given the smartphone or the iPad. So what happens when a child cries, the child probably needs mom's attention. The child needs human attention. So instead of receiving human attention, mom or dad's attention, it's receiving the attention of the iPad, receiving the attention of a computer, a laptop, or receiving the attention of a smartphone. So the child, grows much closer to the what? To the iPad, the laptop, and the smartphone, that the parents are beginning to be a distance away. Sabi na? Sana tigo mesaya waya ni mga maluan na tamata. Sabole ko di. Sabole ka na laptop. Sabole ka may nakuka mea. Sabo sa nabatu. Sa sinibo sa natamata. This is the danger. Sa sinigay mo sa natamata. Balata ningaw na ngay tangi kinabangon na mo niya. Suli sa rabuan na nga ba? Nagay pa ko ilikot. Balata na nga ba? Balata na sa Facebook man na. Sa Facebook man na. Mom is so distracted with Facebook that the easier way out, the quickest way to calm this child who is crying, who needs mom's attention, human attention, give the boy, the child, the iPad. So the child grows into closer relationship with the iPad. He doesn't see the mother, somebody important. So sad. This is something that we have to fight.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that
Yeah.
in one of our episodes. Well, time is catching up on us. We'll go to our last question for tonight for this episode. Maybe you want to ask the question and then we'll end off.
Okay, so
Well, it's in English, so.
this question is about transition. I think it's for me,
Yeah.
is it? So the question is, have you ever had a boyfriend? If yes, was he Mr. Right at first? Who helped you choose? How was the relationship and how close? What happened? Happy or sad ending, and what was the lesson learned? Okay, so yes.
That was a question directed to the two of you, or?
Is it
Well, I
two
can
of
answer. She can answer if she
Yeah,
wants.
go ahead.
Okay, so yes, I've had a boyfriend, so whoever asked that question. Was he Mr. Right at first? I thought he was. No, obviously not.
So is Mr. Wrong now?
Who helped me choose? Okay, how we started was really funny, but I'll just try and shorten my answer. How we started the relationship was very, we were still very immature back then. We were close friends at first. How we went into the relationship, we knew each other in church. From then on, I guess we just had this connection and we developed a relationship.
Look
and
at
then-
everybody's looking at you.
I know my mom and dad are the first one to hear this. It wasn't easy throughout the whole relationship. We had our differences. For me, especially being a pastor's daughter, it wasn't easy. There was expectations that you have to live up to. So I tried to balance our relationship with school and the ministry and all that. We are still good friends now. We didn't want to. I don't want to talk about what happened, but we're still good friends. I guess happy or sad ending. It was okay. We're still friends, so that should say something. The lesson learned from then was, like what Dad always says, true love waits. Don't rush into it. So yeah, I'm still in my singleness. I'm still single, not ready
And
to
enjoy your singleness.
Yes, I'll try to enjoy.
Exhaust.
I will enjoy my singleness.
Thank you, baby.
Let me just say something there. I think it is important for parents to understand it. We have to be understanding as parents that when our children grow up and they're getting into the 18s, 19-year-olds, 20, they begin to have attraction to the person of the opposite sex, and that is absolutely normal. It's absolutely normal.
Parents, understand. Come on, man.
But it's how you guide your children to
Yes.
make sure that they do it right and do it the right way. And I always tell Penny that if you're studying at the student at USP, I think that is your focus. Now that has always been my advice to her, right? But I fully understand as well as a father that every now and then she'll be attracted to a boy. Of course, I understand that. I know Junior is already into something like that too, and I understand that. And it should be the joy of our, of every parent understanding that. So we can tumbo rangaw nangarangay ray kinay tumbo pangwa na lugan dan ni sandu chiko na durbo ngonela or saray da chiko sa tiga bus na tunon tagal mo sambuto sarangan tagal. No, you can't be like that. You can't be like that. You have to understand that your children are growing up, and one day they will develop relationship, get married, settle down. That's the nature of life.
Well, for me, I have been, to answer the question, yes, I have had boyfriends. I've had 3 serious relationships. Yes, of course, they seemed like Mr. Right at the beginning. Who doesn't look like Mr. or Mrs. Right, right? Or why would you even be with that person at the beginning, at the first place? They looked like Mr. Right, but they weren't. I will say that I am thankful for their lives, for the experiences and the lessons that I was taught through those seasons. I am a long distance person, so all 3 were mostly long distance relationships, and no one helped me choose but myself. I guess that's one area that I also
think
learned.
that's an area that
Yeah.
You as kids need to, again, transparency is important here, where the parents should kind of be told
Yeah.
and know, so that they can give the right advice.
Yeah, that's the biggest lesson I
Yeah.
learned. If you don't get your parents' blessings, it's
Yeah.
not gonna work.
Then you will do it hiding.
Yes. Bluntly, it will not work. I don't care how much you will tell me, oh no, you don't know my parents, you don't know me. My sister, my brother, I'm telling you, if your parents don't know from the beginning, if you're not transparent, if you're not honest enough with them, it will not work.
Because when something goes wrong, you'll eventually come back,
to the
the
mom and dad
parents.
crying, like I did so many
You'll
times.
come back crying when everything is going wrong, and then mom and dad, what happened?
Yeah.
You see?
So he's saying that because I
Yeah,
was like this.
I know.
Yeah, so it didn't. The endings were different with the three different guys. But all in all, I'm still grateful for all of their lives.
And they're doing well.
They're doing well,
Amen.
and I speak blessings to them.
And their families.
Yeah, I guess it was just not I was just not the right person for them, and they weren't the right person for me. It was toxic to some extent for one of them. We were toxic to each other, and so young people, as soon as you see red flags, that's the sign. Don't try to vakilkla and stay. Because sometimes God gives you the red flags and you think that you know better and you just want to stay until something big and bad happens, then you regret. So I think the biggest lesson for me is, if you don't have your parents' blessings, then don't venture into it. And like Perry said, don't rush. Wait for God's time. Young man, if you love her, if you really respect her, then go to her father. If you can't face her father, then forget that girl.
Yeah.
And young woman, know your value. Understand your worth. Don't let a guy come in and dictate your worth for you, because that young man might just not know how much you're worth. And so many times we settle with what they say about us. Oh, you're beautiful. Just that, and you settle at that. Do you even realize that you are more than what he's saying about you? I guess that was one of my weaknesses, but now that I've grown out of it and I've matured in these areas, I thank God for the seasons. And so this is a bigger topic in itself, and we can go on and on, because my father can even say so much more. But I hope that I hope that has answered the question for you young ladies that are watching. Shout out to you again in Sydney. Thank you for your question, and I hope that you've been blessed. And if you want to know more, you can always message me. You can talk about it even more. But anyway, thank you everyone.
Yeah.
We've come to the end of our program tonight. We thank you so much for bearing with us. If we didn't answer your question, we're really sorry. Time has caught up on us. But join us again next week for a brand new topic. And I think we're going to be talking on family and social media.
Amen.
So parents, please, I encourage
Yes.
you to sit with your children on this next episode. And we will try and discuss and dissect this topic together. Don't forget, this Sunday, 10 a.m. is our church online service. And next week, Thursday, is our zone. And again, thank you so much for joining us. Before we go, I'll ask my brother, Junior, to share a word of prayer with us.
Maka masuk turun na boleh kuah na boleh loma na taki karam turang sama na turang kuah pula betakin na ni turang na boleh na biba kasama turang masih na bibu ke turang kan tarai lagi 6 bulan dua sasar dengan kuah boleh matu boban turang na bibu ke na turang berke dasar lekena buku na baksam lekena katura lekena karena na bali usar turang kuara tu mati tu turang wala bira turang ina itu ni bibam turang buah turang orang ni dikiki na bali turang ni bibam mulai na pula na mata buat na boleh pasingol da turang na tawa tu na frontline kenapa frontline turang bagi wilu taki wi maro na buat turang kemuklah turang mandra sacrifice turang na ono dendre ke memlaku turang kinongo turang sini ngola turang orang boleh bikin ini nagi maroi kabili lagi kami baru kasih semua turang na boleh besar na boleh kuah nih waktu mata tuh turang tamatar siapa tuh main boleh kuah itu buat kiki mami turang salwat kiki mami turang kimsangi mausa matani tamunga tisu to sorka.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We hope you'll have an awesome, blessed weekend. From our family to yours, we love you all. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Naka.
Bye.